once again something. Yeah, I think that the procedure, the lack of consultation, and all of that takes away a lot from this whole discussions. Government should take another look. We should learn from it. Yeah, clearly, there was no way you could discern this coming from the presentation of the 2025 budget and also government's own push following the of those nuisance taxes. And we all agree that those taxes have to go. So from that perspective, I'm thinking that where I'm able to make some room for this particular levy is coming from the fact that we've seen, with some people, a bit of a surprise, we've seen the aggressive strengthening of the local currency, and therefore that takes some kind of a window. And I believe that in itself might have triggered why government felt that this is the time to introduce this, because yes, it may not be popular, but because the impact of the one Ghana cedi levy, given the scope that has been created as a result of the aggressive strengthening of the currency and also the pass-through, perhaps they can make a case for this and then begin to accumulate the necessary resources. Because even though you may have leadership and we want to do the right thing, your ability to do that also depends on how much resources you are able to mobilize immediately. That is not to take away the fact that
if you are looking at it as a sort of a windfall from the city's performance,
yes,
what is going on with there's no sunset clause to the tax?
Yes, my considered view is that there should have been an indication that this is not going to be a permanent levy handout. I think government should take another look. I'm able to justify this if I look at from the windfall point of view. Already there's been some kind of a windfall when it comes to the growth and sustainability levy. If you see the adjustment with respect to mining companies, because we've seen upward trend in gold prices and also in terms of volume. So government should look at it from that perspective. The analysis I have done here, I'm looking at the export price for, let's say, petrol per liter end of February, where approximately we are looking at 12 Ghana cedis. And then end of February, we are looking at something close to 16 Ghana cedis export price for a liter for petrol. And then May, we are looking at something around 12. So if you look at the margin there, there's a savings of almost more than 3 Ghana cedis over the period. The average savings, we are looking at something around 3.2 and all of that. The question is, do you pass on all these gains to the consumer? I believe that from that perspective, if we are saying that, okay, we are holding back 1 Ghana cedi and we pass on the rest, that is fine. But to the extent that that favorable condition continue to persist, then you can continue to justify this. But when things reverse or change, given the formula that we are also using, then government should be able to come back to the people of Ghana and say that we don't have enough reason to continue to levy this, and we are taking it out because we've seen the world oil price change drastically. We've seen the cedi also, or these other variables. For that reason, we feel that we can push Ghanaians by removing this levy. And let me give you an example. When COVID came in 2020, Côte d'Ivoire and some other countries actually decided to remove levies and taxes on some of the items that they import as a way of limiting the impact on consumers. The losses have to be accounted for in one way or the other, but they also decided to cut expenditure considerably. Now, if I look at the 2025 budget, and that is where I have a soft side for this levy. If I look at the 2025 budget and I look at the steep expenditure cuts, I think for the first time in a while now, we haven't seen anything like that in terms of the wasteful expenditure cut. And I see that this is leadership from that point of view. Even if you look at the budgetary allocation to the office of the president, vice president, even the speaker, the judiciary wasn't spread and all of that. Something in nominal terms, we saw expenditure go down in 2025 relative to 2024 in excess of 10 billion cedis, right? Again, when you look at government gross financing needs in 2025, we are looking at something around 44 billion Ghana cedis compared to the gross financing needs of 2024 in excess of 60 billion Ghana cedis. That reduction in expenditure, call that one expenditure-based fiscal consolidation, and then also the shock therapy, the way the minister calls it, that has conferred some kind of advantage, which is also, given what is happening from the monetary side, and then also improved supply. We've seen the aggressive strengthening of the currency. Of course, you can't discount totally the global dynamics, but if you look at how currencies across Sub-Saharan Africa have responded to these global shocks, you can see that the case of Ghana also has more, in fact, more to do with what is happening internally, from fiscal discipline, from prudent monetary policy, and how the FX is being managed.
Right.
For now, Bank of Ghana has greater control and influence over FX inflows, and we are able to spill that to the market. That is how I'm looking at it. But hello, something.
Yes, let's move on. Let's move on from the substantive points in support of it, the environment, the fiscal environment, and everything. There is opposition for it. Did you expect this opposition? The opposition party is planning, a demonstration in Kumasi. We have the Ghana Private Road Transport Unions also planning a strike on June 10 if this is not reversed.
Yes, I think given the way it was introduced and all of that, certainly stakeholders would have expected some kind of consultation. But of course, I believe that it's not too late for government to engage them. I see that, okay, so something, if you look at the IMF supported program and then the energy sector recovery plan, and the progressivity in terms of upward utility adjustment that we needed to do in order to restore the energy sector the way it should, I think that this may be a bit of a least cost approach to achieving that to some extent. Again, if you look at the formula that we use to adjust for utility prices, it's not all the variables that are captured, right, totally in the formula. Even when it comes to the procurement of fuel. It's also, again, it comes down to how we negotiated some of these contracts, take or pay, commercial rate, and yet we agree to procure fuel for them and all of that. So I think it's not too late. Government should engage, and we should engage with the data and explain why this is more needful now, so we're able to procure fuel. I also agree that we need strong reforms in the energy sector. Yeah, some will bear fruit immediately, some in the medium to the long term. But I think at this moment, I have a soft side towards this lane. That is my position. Right now,
hold on. Listen to Bawumia and tell me if he's right or he's not. You were against E-Levy. This is 8 times worse than E-Levy. Listen to Bawumia.
NDC for Omuchan Trobebre every day. Be a trial Omuchan. And Rana Jo, someone in Amo, Omudi Dumsor Levy Aba. Dumsor Levy. So first, almost E-Levy. Nayedi Aba. Omubeyi E-Levy, no Omubeyi. And then Omudi Dumsor Levy Aba. It is 8 times the E-Levy. Oman Susuan Yo. And then uto 1 liter of petrol, 1 cedi no ubetria. Uto 1,000 cedis of petrol, ubetria 83 cedis. 83 cedis as tax. E-Levy no send obi 1,000 momwa, ubetria 10 cedis. Omu and then betua for 1,000 betua 83 cedis for fuel. we nim nyinaa more beba by the time yebedu 2028 no Ghana nyinaa behu se omutwa ntro bebre mimi gidi se omubeka ntre se yensamba biom embafa aban no ensiesie Ghana.
So speaking Twi actually is quite a bit difficult for him, but he does well with it. If he were speaking English, he would have done it a lot more better than you would have heard him do. The point is that he says that this new tax is 8 times worse, and he tries to give us a picture of the enormity of what we have. To say 1 cedi on 1 liter doesn't paint the correct picture, because if I go to the pump right now and I'm buying fuel worth, say, 1,000 cedis, how much am I paying on that? That's the picture he's giving us. Is he correct or is not?
Yes, he has a point. If you look at it in terms of volume consumption, right? So the more you buy, the more you pay, right? Again, some people can make the argument that speaks to the fact that there is progressivity in here.
And nobody really buys 1 liter of fuel, correct?
Yes, nobody does that.
So people will be paying a lot more.
The other bit, yes, the other bit to take into consideration is that if you look at end of February to, let's say, May, using the same argument, consumers have made considerable savings. End of February, you are looking at a liter of around 16 Ghana cedis average. May, you are looking at averagely around 12. That's huge savings depending on your level of consumption also. So if you situate that with this levy, then the impact is quite moderate. And again, conceptually, and from a more theoretical point of view, you cannot situate the E-Levy transaction or tax side by side with this levy. Not at all.
Okay.
Dr. Baumia himself agrees that E-Levy, as we have come to know it, fails to meet all the basic principles of taxation that we know.
All right.
From economics point of view, because it's very difficult to situate that whether it's a consumption tax, income, or capital gains or whatever. But then if you look at this one and the focus, yes, yes, of course, in terms of 1 Ghana cedi levy per day, others have also spoken about the fact that it's quite high. Why not 50 pesos or so?
Thank you, Prof Bokpin.
I am tempted to believe that if government could package this more as a temporary, and it should be seen as.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Prof Bokpin.